Hi guys, welcome to another All Things Tennis video. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to directly compare two rackets. So you've got the Vcore 98, this is the 2023 edition, versus a Vcore 95. So Liam's an ATT sponsored player and he needs to figure out which one he's going to take forward for the season of 2023. Let's talk, Liam, okay, about the first major differences between the two. Okay, obviously this one, let's talk about the specs first. You've got a 98 head size, 305 gram weight, okay. The big changes in the frame is a little bit wider at the top here in the new frame. You've got silicone infused grommets, so you get a little bit more snapback than the previous version, okay. And all round, I think it's a little bit more powerful than the previous version. Liam, why don't you talk to us just briefly on the 95 compared to your previous version? What was a major difference, do you think?
Main difference between the two 95s, so the new one and the old one, is the power. I thought there was a little bit more pop and power, especially from the back with the new version compared with the old one. So initially it was a little bit of a surprise and I had to adjust it a little bit, but it felt really, really nice once I'd realised how much pop it's got in the racket in the new frame.
Okay, so let's get right into the comparisons between the two. From the back, let's talk about the 98 versus the 95 Groundstrokes. How were you having to adjust between the two? Because obviously the 98, 305 gram weight, but also a 16-19 pattern versus the 16-20 in the 95. How did that affect when you're kind of dialed into your ground strokes?
So with the ground strokes, with the 98 being a bit more of an open pattern, slightly, just felt it was a little bit more powerful than this 95. This one being a bit more, I felt controlled from the back, whereas this one sometimes would spray the ball a bit too much. So I'd have to hit a lot more heavy spin and control that power a bit more. Whereas this one, the 95, was a bit more easier to flatten out, and I didn't feel like I'd miss a shot long too much.
So off the strings, if you're kind of interchanging between the two, what was the major difference on your shot off the strings?
Off the strings, with the 98, I did find a bit more of sort of a higher launch angle than this one. So again, just had to add a little bit more sort of effort through my arm and through the spin just to control that angle. Whereas this one, I didn't find that one so much. With the angle, it felt a little bit more controlled, and I was able to get that angle that I like and just control the height of the ball a bit better.
From a ground stroke perspective, what type of player with the 98 suit versus the 95? What would be the kind of intricate details you'd pick out between the two?
I'd say for the 98, it'd be a little bit more for someone who wants easy access to power and really wants to rip, particularly their forehand and get it to dip nice and deep into the court. With the 95, maybe a bit better for someone who hits a bit flatter and just wants a little bit more control on the ball. But with the 95, the big positive with that one is how much power you would easily able to get on the ball and how much spin it got, both of them really.
And then coming to the net, obviously the 98 versus 95, you tried it in the different string setups, so let's think about comparing them both strung up with Hyper G at 54. What was the major differences in the volleys?
Didn't find too much difference between the string setup really in either. I just thought the 98 was a bit more easy to volley with just because it's a bit more forgiving, a bit larger on the head size. I didn't really have to put too much effort into volleying with that one compared to this one, which felt a little bit stiff.
Okay, so let's talk about serves then. We've touched on ground strokes and volleys. A big strength in Liam's game is this big flat serve down the tee. Which one benefited that the most, do you think, between the 98 and the 95?
To compare both on the serve would be very difficult actually. I thought the power on through my arm on the serve was really, really good with both of these. Would probably edge the 98 very, very slightly just because of that more open string pattern giving you a little bit more easy power, but very, very, very small between the two.
So more power on the 98. Did you feel like, more control maybe with the 95 on the serve?
Yeah, I think so. A bit easier to hit the spots with the 95 compared with the very easy power of the 98. A little bit easier on the kick serve and the second serve with the 95 here as well, just to make sure I was getting it into the box, but I was still keeping that really good amount of spin on it.
Let's talk about slice and touch. So when you're getting into a slice battle from the back, or maybe trying to cut under, hit a drop shot, what were the major differences between the two?
Yeah, we had some good slice battles today, and I just felt the 95 was a little bit better on that front, particularly from the back. Really good access to the slice on both of them, but I just felt with the control element of the 95 just being a bit more there than the 98. Just felt I was never really going to miss with this 95, and just the touch shots as well, just really easy, really controlled.
So we've touched on most of the shots now. I mean, these two are both great rackets. I think Liam hits the nail on the head. This 98, you've got a higher launch angle. I think it is more powerful than the previous version. So if you're a player that's got all your own power and maybe you flatten out a little bit more, I think maybe that 95 offers a bit more versatility. Whereas if you want that power behind you and great access to spin, the 98 by all means isn't like a overpowered racket. It just does have that higher launch angle when comparing the two. Makes it tricky because obviously we talked about serve, you know, you get a little bit more access to power, bigger serves with this. You prefer this one for volleys as well, coming in. Slice, this one won. Groundstrokes, tricky, you know, you can hit well with both. What does that kind of entail in terms of which one do you kind of trust going forward playing matches with?
I just felt I would probably edge the 95 a little bit more over the 98, just simply because it's what I'm used to. I've just been playing with the previous one for the last year, and I just felt in terms of the control it just shone through a little bit more than the 98, particularly for the back and the ground strokes, which are quite important in my singles game particularly, but also on return for doubles. So I would probably just edge this one just a little bit.
There you go. It's a very close call, I think, for them going forward. He's obviously going to extensively test the two going forward to really make that decision, but hopefully it gives you a good insight on the differences between the two frames. Obviously they are more powerful, both of these new versions, than the previous ones. The 95 has got a slightly lower RA, so it's a little bit more flexible. So you will need some sort of adjustment when changing to this new version, I think. But for me, it's a very good update. It's nice that they've actually gone into the tech and changed the frame rather than it being a paint job. So thanks for watching to the end of the video. Give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we can give you more videos like this one today.